greet you on a Tuesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. I have been doing this show for about 3.5 years. I've covered a lot of stories that have angered me, bothered me, stayed with me. I'm going to talk about one today that I think might be the worst one ever. Things in politics, the Hunter Biden laptop, the way the 2020 election was tinkered with, the staying of the heartbeat bill by an activist judge in Cincinnati, murders of young Columbus teenagers, young girls, Olivia Kurtz at Bicentennial Park, Mackenzie Ridley on the east side, and drive-by shootings, 10,000 car thefts a year by the Kia boys, a 14-year-old dead in a high-speed crash, cops vilified, ridiculously prosecuted by the city, all of them horrible. The murder of Brooke DeVinny, 19 years old and pregnant in her 4th month of pregnancy, Sunday morning, is to me the worst because of the backstory that we now know, written about today, detailed today by Bailey Gallion in the Columbus Dispatch and by television websites in the city. Brooke DeVinny would and should be alive today if not for the utter incompetence, complete lack of compassion, complete lack of common sense on the part of Franklin County Common Pleas Court Judge Michael Holbrook, who released a murderer onto the streets of Columbus with a long and awful domestic violence history without that person, Devon Blair, 23 years old, having to put down a single dollar to secure his release in mid-May for an incident in December where he beat, stabbed, threatened to kill his girlfriend, Brooke DeVinny. Michael Holbrook let him out on May the 16th on a recognizance bond. And when he did, he gave Devon Blair some words of advice. He gave him an ankle monitor, which, how many criminals have cut off ankle monitors and gone about doing what they did? I don't know if Devon Blair was wearing his ankle monitor Sunday morning when he beat Brooke DeVinny and her infant in her womb to death. But Michael Holbrook, after having heard in court in the trial of Devon Blair for felonious assault, strangulation, felony domestic violence. Oh, and by the way, assault on a police officer, because Devon Blair, when he was arrested for the December 28th incident, bit a police officer. Holbrook let him out without him posting $1 of bail and said to him, that was just cold-blooded, making her take off. Oh, by the way, I forgot. The December 28th incident, he made Brooke DeVinny take off all her clothes and run into the street. December the 28th. He gave her clothes for Christmas. He made her take them off and run out into the street to get away from him, beating her and dragging her from the garage where she was hiding from him into the house by her hair. Michael Holbrook knew all of this in May when he let Brooke DeVinny continue to be terrorized by this monster who eventually murdered her Sunday morning. But this is what Holbrook told Devon Blair in court on May the 16th. That was just cold-blooded, making her take her stuff off in the middle of the street. Cold-blooded, not cool. It bothered Michael Holbrook that Brooke DeVinny had to disrobe. He didn't mention anything about the fact that Devon Blair punched Brooke DeVinny. He didn't mention anything about the fact that Devon Blair held a knife to the throat of Brooke Deviney. He didn't mention anything about Devon Blair dragging her around by her hair. No, what bothered Michael Holbrook was that Devon Blair made her disrobe and run into the street. And then Holbrook, according to Bailey Gallion's reporting in the Dispatch, told Blair that he had faith in Blair's ability to turn things around, but that he would be, and I quote, bothered if Blair violated the terms of his release. Now, this is a very significant statement by Judge Michael Holbrook, saying that Devon Blair would do something that bothered the judge if Devon Blair violated the terms of his release. Because you know what doesn't? It would be a good time for us to examine what doesn't bother Michael Holbrook. You know what doesn't bother this complete joke of an individual? Cutting off the genitals of minors, allowing boys to play girls' sports, poisoning the bodies of minors with puberty blockers, because Michael Holbrook is the judge who is blocking the enforcement of a duly enacted law in the state of Ohio called the SAFE Act. That doesn't bother Michael Holbrook one bit. It doesn't bother Michael Holbrook that this monster held a knife to his girlfriend's throat, stabbed her in the stomach, drug her by the hair into the house, but making her disrobe, that bothers Michael Holbrook. I called Michael Holbrook's chambers today. His staff attorney told me that he is on medical leave. He went on medical leave 4 days after this decision in May to get a hip replacement. I pray he gets a moral compass replacement before he comes back to the bench. I also called the administrative judge over Michael Holbrook. Her name is Kim Brown. There are several Kim Browns who are judges. This is Kim Brown with no E on the end. The other Kim Brown is the genius who wrote the letter objecting to imprisoning minors for stealing cars because it might, quote, turn them into criminals. These are the kinds of morally deficient idiots we have in charge of justice in Franklin County. I also called the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, which might be the first time I've ever spoken this sentence. To their credit, the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office objected to the release of Devon Blair on his own recognizance, because we all know that a guy who drags his girlfriend around by the hair, holds a knife to her throat, stabs her in the stomach, beats her, and threatens to kill her is worthy of being released on his own recognizance. This is so infuriating to me. And then Devon Blair did not show up after his May 16th court appearance. Do you know when they scheduled his sentencing? July 22nd. So he gets to go 2 months after his release before he's sentenced for clearly violent crimes that show you exactly what he had in mind and exactly what he was capable of doing to this 19-year-old girl who is now dead, as is the infant in her womb. This is so sickening and so disgusting. And it will only get worse, because you and I both know that not one thing will happen to Michael Holbrook for his egregious incompetence. Because you know what? The judge in North Olmsted, nothing will happen to him for releasing a completely lunatic person who had violated the law in Sacramento, California. Maybe it was Bakersfield, but it was California and Florida, and came back to North Olmsted and was in the police station the very day she stole 2 knives and stabbed a 3-year-old boy to death in the parking lot of a North Olmsted Giant Eagle. This is what passes for justice in this country. Now, in both these cases, the offenders were black. I don't know if that is an outgrowth of the George Floyd case where white judges, and both these judges, the one in North Olmsted and Michael Holbrook, are white, and they're afraid of being accused of racism if they actually practice what they are supposed to do, which is keep dangerous people off the street, which they are not doing. This is so infuriating, not only because it happened, but because nothing will change.